And good day to you, Win Nation. It's Adam Conto, CEO here with Start With a Win. We are in our virtual studios once again because we're doing everything remotely. So I got in his virtual studio at Brand Viva Studios. We got producer Mark. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing so good.
I love it. We were just dropping some beats on the mixer board here, and Mark was putting some rhymes on top of those beats. It was kind of fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, you know, it's I love being creative. I love music, and it's just fun to play around with technology and all sorts of stuff. You and I are big fans of the Rodecaster Pro, which is a podcasting recording studio platform. If you're interested in podcasting, definitely check one of those out. They aren't cheap, but they are pretty affordable. I don't know if that makes sense.
It's a great mixer board, and it even has this fun little piece you can drop some of your sound effects in.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
We've got some fun ones, like, you know, when I feel really good about myself, or I want to feel really good, I kind of do. Yes, thank you, everybody.
Awesome,
thank
Adam. You are awesome.
You know, or if I really bomb something here on the program, you know, it just
get the hook out.
Oh,
yeah.
There we go. Hey, I'm here all day.
If I'm ever, running from the
get to the chopper.
That's right. Get to the chopper. Okay, enough of that.
You know what we're hearing right now, Mark?
What is that? The ocean? Oh, crickets.
Our audience is gone.
Yeah, they're like, what are you guys doing? Listen, we have been in isolation for 2 weeks.
We're a little stir crazy. So.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm excited. Mark, yeah.
I mean, you were going to tell me you're excited about something.
Yeah, I'm excited about today's episode because we've had some people call in and leave messages for us.
People are calling that phone number you left out there?
They're calling 888-581-4430. So if you haven't called that, call that number, leave Adam a voicemail, and then you potentially make it on the show and get your question answered. So, but yeah, today we're just going to do an episode of answering a couple people's questions, and should be a good time.
All right. Well, why don't you ask the questions, and then I'll start answering them. How's that?
That sounds good. All right. So here's our first voicemail.
Hi, this is Ryan Andrews with Remax Horizon Realty in Douglas, Wyoming. I'm calling because I would like to know what top 5 books Adam would recommend us to read while we're all just hanging out at home. Thanks.
Top 5 books.
Oh, yeah. We're going to do some reading. I love it. Okay. So, Mark, you know I'm a big book guy. So I gathered together 5 books that I have read. In fact, one of them I'm continuing to read right now. And these are some good books, both for yourself as well as for your business. So let's start with, of course, The Compound Effect by my friend Darren Hardy. And I actually happen to have a copy of this book right here. Hold on a second. Let me grab it.
Is it signed? Is it a signed copy of the book?
Because
I heard the social media ninja Keller has a signed copy of someone's book.
I do know that. No, this one's not signed.
Come on.
I know I have like
Darren.
I think I already have a few copies of this that are signed. They're at my office though.
We can't get there.
We can't get there right now. So, but this is the home copy. So I've got this one here. So so happy to have it. So good shot there of the book. I'll tell you what, this book is unbelievable. It goes through just basically how compounding interest works, but not just in money, but in your life. So all the little things that you do add up. It might be the number of calories that you increase or decrease through the day. It might be how you work on your relationships. It might be what you do in your business. There's just everything you do in your life compounds to either help you or to hurt you. So it gives you a good example of how to deal with those things. So highly recommend. If you haven't read The Compound Effect, this would be the first one I went and picked up.
Yeah, it's one of those concepts that's super simple, and when you think about it, you're like, oh yeah, like if I work out every day for 6 days a week, I'll probably start to see some results in 6 weeks.
Genius.
Yeah, it's like simple, but so
Right.
effective. Yeah, I've seen Darren speak too a few times on about the compound effect, and it is one of those things where it's like, wait a second, this is so simple, but it's like so true.
Yeah, we've had Darren speak at several of our events. Great friend of ours. I mean, it's amazing the ideas he has, things he comes up with to manage business, especially during the COVID crisis we have going on. He's always looking at it, but ultimately it all boils down to what happens in the compound effect and how do you implement those things into your daily life.
Yeah. All right, book number 2.
Book number 2. This would be a book that we are actually reading right now at the Fort Contos Family Book Club. So we do sit around the fire pit, or when it's inappropriate weather here, we sit around the kitchen table and read and talk about Atomic Habits by James Clear. So I also have copies of this book. I just don't have one with me in the studio here. It's upstairs. But amazing book. And basically this goes in and takes and refines some of the finer points of how habits work, again, like the compound effect, either for you or against you, and how you can establish habits, change habits, remove habits, things of that nature, good habits, bad habits. So amazing book. And you want to know the secret to this, Mark?
What, Adam?
This is one of those realization books that you can sit down and talk about with your kids. This is really cool. So I have 2 college students and a high school senior, and you can't tell them anything, right? They don't want to hear it from you. You're their parent.
Dad doesn't know anything.
Yeah, go away, Dad. But ultimately, if you sit there and you actually talk about these different chapters, and the beauty is the chapters are only like 15 pages each, so very, very short chapters. But when you sit down and you talk about them with your kids or your family or whatever, they're like, hey, this totally pertains to me. And you're like, hello, I've been saying this for years. But they have a lot of self-realization, and the way that James Clear presents the different principles through stories and examples is just truly amazing. So highly recommend, after you read The Compound Effect, read Atomic Habits.
All right, book number 3.
Book number 3. All right, this one is called Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. So once again, parents, this is a great way to get into your children's heads and help them do the things that you want them to do. So this is 6 universal principles of influence and how to use them to become a skilled persuader. And just as importantly, how to defend yourself against dishonest influence attempts. So ultimately, this is a great book that talks about how and why people in society do what they do. For instance, like when you get the check at a restaurant, when we're allowed to go sit in restaurants again, and they bring you the check and they bring like candy or chocolate or something with it, that actually has been shown to increase the amount of money that you leave as a tip, because it's a gift that they gave you. You're going to return that particular item with a bigger gift in the form of the tip that you give them. So it has things like liking, what are people like you doing? What are the people doing that you want to be like? Social influence, all sorts of different stuff like that. So great book. If you have anything to do with business, which we all do, or you might have kids, or you just want to learn why does the human brain work the same way or work the way that it is. Dr. Robert Cialdini, who's a professor at Arizona State University, wrote this. Great guy. We've had him speak, and it's a little bit academic at times, but I think you'll find it very very entertaining and very insightful. Solid.
All right. Book number 4.
Mark is broken out the Roadcaster Pro. This is an oldie but a goodie. How to Win Friends and Influence People by
Classic.
Dale Carnegie. Yes. So you can go after the job you want and get it. You can take the job you have and improve it. You can take any situation and make it work for you. So these are time-tested pieces of advice that Dale Carnegie has put together in a great book, carried countless people up the ladder of success in their business and personal lives. And it's just, I can't say more about this. This is one that you just need to read, and then every now and then you pick it up and read it again. it talks about certain things. One of the key points that I really, really love, the two things you can't give yourself, okay? Appreciation and attention. So,
which we hear you say a lot.
Exactly. Yeah, I do break that line out quite a bit. And, you want to really help somebody, go give them some attention and appreciation because they can't give those things to themselves. It just doesn't work as well as when you deliver it to them. So that's book number 4.
And then to round this all out, book number 5.
But we don't have any sound for book number 5.
We don't have any sound for book number 5.
How about the chopper? Can you give me the chopper?
How about harps? And number 5.
All right, that sort of goes with it. It's called Extreme Ownership: How U.S. Navy SEALs Lead and Win by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. Play the harps.
Or we could do the chopper.
There we go. That's more like it.
That's right. Jocko,
That's
this
way more
summer, Jocko will lead you to win in extreme ownership.
All right, so I love this book because I come from a military background and SWAT team background, things like that. And it really gets into the teamwork aspect of leadership. What happens on a really tight-knit team? How do team leaders think? How do the team members think? How do people own what's going on? And he has a line in this book that is discipline equals freedom. Discipline equals freedom. And I believe this so much. And if you go back to the first few books that I talked about, they're all about discipline and the freedom that grants you. So these psychology principles of how we get better at business, better in our personal lives, better in our relationships, things like that, they all play together in these books collectively. And this is a great book. It talks a lot about Jocko's endeavors as a SEAL team commander in Iraq and Afghanistan and how all these principles play into life and death situations and how they handle those situations with deploying great leadership. So check that book out as well. It is a hard one to put down because it has so many really, really, really deep stories that just suck you in until you hear the conclusion of that story, how the team came out of the mission, things like that. So great book.
Good book. Okay. Let's move on to our next call. And we have Gary Kelly, not to be confused with Gary Keller, from Remax Executive Realty in Massachusetts.
I would really like to have your thoughts and vision around the people that are still out working, face masks, sanitizing, etc., and the people that are saying you shouldn't do that and stay at home. There's a tension there that is developing, and it's not necessarily a good tension. Both sides have passion, and that's a good thing. But I'd be interested in how you reconcile that. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Good question during this interesting time.
That's a great question, Gary, and thank you so much for asking, and thank you for caring. I mean, that's huge. During the COVID crisis, what we have going on right now, we do have a lot of people with a binary thought out there. Some say, we're essential, we should be able to go out and do things. And others say, you're not essential, don't go do things. It's not that easy. And I think we need to understand and respect each other's feelings kindly. I think we need to have gratitude and caring for each other and understand that your feelings might not be the same as someone else's feelings. So ultimately, what should we look at? First of all, safety first, okay? Don't do anything that's going to risk anybody in any safety. Don't go do anything that, you might go, oh, well, I don't have it. Well, you don't know that. You don't know that you don't have it. You don't know that it's not where you're going, and you don't know the person you're talking to doesn't have it. And ultimately, you don't know that you're going to be asymptomatic or not. You're not going to carry any symptoms, but you might go deliver it to somebody else. This is the gift that keeps on giving in a bad way. So we have to be very careful. Yes, there are things that need to be done out there in society, and there are certain aspects of a real estate transaction that do require in-person, your presence. But ultimately, if there is any chance that you're going to give the COVID-19 to somebody or receive it from somebody, I would think twice about how you're doing stuff. But at the same time, if you have to go do something, you got to make judgment calls here. You're adults, and but you got to do it caring and without getting upset. And if somebody says no, we shouldn't do this, respect that. Don't push somebody. This isn't like you're handing a drink to your friend who doesn't normally drink. This is you're potentially giving a life-threatening illness to somebody who shouldn't be receiving it. So we have to think our way through this. There's no right answer. The right answer is safety, what works best, and have some caring in the process. So thank you so much, Gary, for sharing that.
All right, let's move on to our last question.
I love it. Let's do it.
Good morning, Adam and Mark. I have a question for you, Adam, please. Who are your mentors that have shaped your positive personal and professional growth? Thank you so much. I hope you answer that question. This is Sue calling from Canada, and I am a realtor with Remax Performance in Winnipeg. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and take care. Bye-bye.
All right.
I love this one. Thank you, Sue from Canada, from Winnipeg. I love my Canadian friends. They're such wonderful people.
Eh?
So yeah. I'll tell you what, Canada is one of the most beautiful places on the planet.
Yes, it is. I haven't even explored it all, but I've been to a few places, Vancouver being one, and I was blown away.
It's unbelievable. So anyhow, okay, so let's hop into this one. So who are my mentors? And I'm going to kind of throw a little bit of spin on this and break it apart a little more than just a mentor question, because you have three different places, actually four, that you can be gaining knowledge, shaping your life, your success, your opportunities from. One of which obviously is a mentor, like what Sue mentioned. Then you also have coaches, and then you have masterminds. So you've got those three external components of how you learn.
Just layers. It's like an onion.
Exactly. Yeah. And then there's a fourth one.
The fourth layer.
The fourth layer. It's the fourth layer. And this one is actually the hardest one, because it's self-growth, self-education, self-coaching, self-mentoring. So it's more than just being part of a mastermind, having a mentor, and having a coach. And to go back to Sue's question, who are the mentors that have really shaped my life? Well, I'm going to give you one name that you all know, and that's Dave Liniger. He's been a mentor of mine for decades. So somebody who's been just unbelievably instrumental. And here's the thing about mentors. You can't show up to a mentor and sit there and go, teach me. You have to show up to a mentor and ask questions. You have to ask really good questions of a mentor and be willing to hear things that you don't necessarily want to hear. Be willing to hear things that you didn't know you were going to hear. And also a lot of times, we ask questions simply because we're seeking validation of what we think is the correct answer. So you kind of shape your questions a certain way. Don't do that with a mentor, because I got to tell you, mentors are really smart and they can see right through that. They just look at you. And I've asked Dave a couple questions like this. I've asked him a particular question. He goes, "You just want me to validate your feelings on this, don't you?" And he go, "Oh yeah, okay." He goes, "Then why don't you ask me a question that I can give you advice on?" So very, very deep response. So Dave is just an incredible mentor. I've got some other mentors that I'm not going to name. I've had mentors in SWAT, in the military, people who have given me some unbelievable life advice. You always kind of look for also the mother and father figures in your life. They give good mentorship. You need to be willing to listen to it, though. Can't ask a mentor a question and not be willing to listen and really take heed to what they say, because you might not like the answer, but it means something. So let's talk about the other two parts then. Coaches. I believe everybody needs to have a coach. You need to have a coach that can both be your life coach, maybe your fitness coach, maybe your business coach. But you got to have coaches in different aspects of your life. And it's probably not the same person that does all three, because those are all very, very specific specialties. I do have coaches. I've had, at any given time, 2 business coaches, a life coach, and also fitness coaching. So, here's the reality behind that. The question you have to ask yourself is, are you coachable? Are you coachable? Are you willing to do the things, be vulnerable, be transparent, be accountable to the things that your coaches tell you? Because if you're not, then don't pay for the coach. And coaching shouldn't be free, by the way. Mentorship typically is free, but coaching is not free. Because if you pay attention. Okay? Think about that. If you pay attention. That's really important. And typically the higher dollar coaches, you're going to get
the more attention you pay.
You got it. So anyhow, think about that. But there's a book actually called The $1 Trillion Coach that I recommend people read. It has to do with coaching, has to do with basically one of Silicon Valley's greatest coaches ever. So check that out. I also mentioned masterminds. What's a mastermind? A mastermind is a room of vulnerability. So it's where you might sit in a room with other people who maybe on roughly the same level as you, maybe above you, and where you're trying to level up to. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be anything from financial to business to health to, I mean, who knows? Maybe you're a sculptor and you want to learn different new ways of sculpting, and you sit in a room with other really, really good sculptors or art aficionados who are into sculpture. So, it depends on what you're looking for out of that mastermind. But here's the thing about a mastermind. There's something called a hot seat. And that's where you sit in the middle of the room and they ask you questions, and you better be willing and ready to hear whatever comes your way. So there's no thin skin allowed. You got to take what they say and say thank you and do something with it. Because again, like mentors and coaches, if you're not willing to do something with that, don't waste those other people's time. So that was mentors, coaches, and masterminds. I mentioned the fourth, which is self-education. This is really one of the most interesting parts because so many people learn, but they don't do. They'll go out and they'll consume, but they don't create. So that's my question to everybody out there. And Sue, that was way more of an answer than you probably were looking for. But the reality is, take a look at all those different things, and not just what will you consume, but what will you create to help other people. So that's what I got, Mark.
Awesome. Well, this was a fun episode. Fun and also educational, which is two things that I love having during quarantine. Fun and education. So
yeah, I mean, that's a really good point is, when we're all done with this, and I don't know how long this is going to go, but when people walk out the door, what are they going to say? I wish I had, or I'm glad I did. What did they learn? What did they do? What did they change? What did they create? Or did they just create calories and pounds and really make sure that they checked off watching every single episode on, their favorite streaming television program channel, whatever it might be. So, I mean, that's a good question, right? What are you going to do with yourself to make the most of this?
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Adam. And thank you for listening to Start With a Win. And if you'd like to be on an episode like you heard our friends call in and leave a message, give us a call at 888-581-4430. You can ask anything, and you may make the show, and Adam will answer your question on the podcast.